Hey everybody, let me turn the camera sideways. Hope everybody's doing good. Let me set. Oops, turn this a little bit. It just doesn't work. You'd think that one of these days I'd have this part figured out, and I never do. All right, if you are watching the recorded version, hello, I'm going to kind of hang out and just lollygag here for a few minutes until people log in, because they're just seeing that the stream is live now. So we'll give people like a few minutes to check in. And let's see, how do I see how many people are in here? Oh my God, hundreds of people are already here. Shoot. Now I'm like nervous. Except I want to, that's pretty good, right? It looks like an old, was it the old firehouse? Hey, Drana, who did the old fireside chats? Was that Roosevelt? That was Roosevelt, right? Where he would like sit down in front of a fireplace on Friday evenings and talk to.
Right.
That was Roosevelt, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of like Roosevelt, except that I'm in a Holiday Inn Express and there's no fireplace, and I'm not president. But other than that, it's a lot like Roosevelt. That's fair, right? So if you guys are logging in, welcome. Yeah, those are just facts. I wish I was on the side that was feelings over facts. It'd be so much easier. I wish I could do that, but I can't. What am I going to do? All right, so now this is, let's see. If I scroll down here, I can see, sorry, there's a new format to my streaming software. So I'm trying to learn it. So I apologize. I'm going to learn it while I'm live. That doesn't really make sense. I probably could have had the foresight to have thought that one through a little better. If you're in here, by the way, if you comment, if you say hello, I'll see the comments. And I'm going to open up this computer here. That way I can actually see the all the questions that came in, because I got a whole ton of questions for this AMA. By the way, I'm gonna kind of start like at the 5-minute mark, just so people have a chance to log in. So if you're here, feel free to say hello. Let me know where you're from too, by the way, as I pull open my computer page. And let's see. Oh no, it's gonna make me okay, I gotta restart the computer and log in my account. You know, you would think that one of these days I would be prepared before going live, but I never am. So if anybody here, we're starting at the 5-minute mark. That's 10. We're starting at the half of the 10-minute mark. So feel free to, we're just going to chit chat for 2 more minutes, give people a chance to log in. And I'm going to start off with a major flex, you guys. You're not going to believe at the 5-minute mark, I'm going to tell you something you are literally not going to believe that I just did. It's like, y'all are going to be mind blown. So definitely stick around. Okay, now there's people. Now there's like 3,100 people coming in. Holy shoot, this is going to be a lot of people. And I'm sorry for ignoring you guys. I'm getting on the other computer so I can see all the questions that came in. So I'm not ignoring you. I mean, well, technically I am, but not really ignoring you. Okay, now it wants me to. Fine, I'll log into. It's making me log into Facebook. I never use the computer for anything. All right, we're 1 minute away from the 5-minute mark, and I'm going to blow your minds when I brag about what I'm about to brag about. But I can't seem to. How do I can't see the comments because it's not letting me scroll down on the comment side with this new thing. Oh my God, Meta it wants to do a CAPTCHA, but Drana, can you please help me with this? I cannot. It's oh no, never mind. It was just slow. It wants to know I'm not a robot. If I was a robot,
Wouldn't you just interface with it?
yeah, I would just interface with it. Oh, I can't wait, by the way. Just so y'all know, I am first in line to get the chip implanted in my brain so I can use Bluetooth with my thoughts. Because I'm pretty sure. Oh, wait, I just got a notification that I'm trying to log into the Galaxy phone. They're trying, can I give you this, please? Will you please? I can't seem to log into Facebook. I mean, I can, but I don't want everybody to sit here and watch me trying to log into Facebook. So
Trying to get a login approval.
I guess so. It's asking me because I was on a different browser, and then I think it logged me out of the browser. Isn't this exciting? Are you guys glad you logged in to watch an old man try to use the internet? Technology scares me. So, all right. So while we're trying to log into the internet or to Facebook, I am going to give you guys the biggest flex in my life. I just did something that, well, I'm going to tell you what I did, and I don't think most of you are going to believe that I actually did this, but I did this. So about 15 minutes ago, I needed to walk down to the van to get my tripod. I walked all the way from my hotel room to the van parked out front without my phone. I did it. I literally walked all the way down the hallway from my hotel room, the length of the hotel hallway to the elevator without checking messages or seeing what Instagram videos popped into my feed. It says, I'm logged in, trust this device?
Yeah.
So anyways, yeah, I did. I made it all the way to the elevator without my phone and all the way back. That's like the third time I've done this. I actually, when I was in San Francisco, I drove to the McDonald's almost an entire mile away without watching a single YouTube video. I know you guys think I'm making this up. You all think because I can't prove that I did this. You know what? Actually, we should do next time, Drana. Grab your phone when I walk out to I'm going to do this again. Grab your phone. I want you to film me walking all the way from my hotel room to the van without my phone, because they're calling me a liar. They don't think I did it. All right, you guys. So this is look, we're snowed in. It's the Arkansas version of snowed in, because it's not like this would be snowed in if you were up in like Michigan and you're used to this, but this is not normal down here. And so I canceled my 4 teaching events, my fairway field trips in Arkansas, and I'm going to do them in a couple months. And I thought, since a lot of you are sitting in the snow, let's just do an AMA, try to have some fun, talk some disc golf today. And
how far reaching is this snow thing?
How far reaching is the snow? I think it's like the whole, like,
Can you show them?
half the U.S.
Show them the van down there.
Yeah, it's not gonna look like much.
But context.
Look at this. This is
what it takes to shut down the
Yeah.
in the south.
Yes.
And those western.
No, but it makes sense though, because it's not like, look, if you're in Arkansas, you don't have like 1,000 snow plows waiting on demand. My guess is you got a bunch of people that are ready to go in their 4-wheel drive trucks that are basically the community bails the city out. I'm suspecting they don't have like 50 snow plows in Fort Smith. They have people, a bunch of hardworking American men who come to the rescue when weather hits. And so
that would be a really big, stupid waste of money to have.
Yeah.
Snowplows sitting around.
And they even like they were using salt shakers from the hotel on the roads. All right. So we're gonna do a quick AMA, and I am going to, let's see, here we go. Ask me anything, comments. Okay, here we go. Ready, guys? And I'm going to try to make this fun. By the way, I got a poop ton. I'm trying not to use potty words because it's an all ages show. I had a poop ton of questions come in, so I appreciate that. I'm going to try to get to them all. And oh no, my first question. I don't want to. Oh no, I'm not. I don't want to say it because this is an all ages show. Okay, I'm not going to say it. I'm practicing. So what is my favorite dinosaur? My favorite dinosaur is, God, am I being cliche if I say T-Rex? It kind of has to be, right? Isn't that the dinosaur that was like the alpha dinosaur? Like, look, this is part of the male hierarchy. Like, we men appreciate the hierarchy, and at the top of the dinosaur patriarchy was the T-Rex. So I'm gonna go T-Rex on this one. Hey, wait. I'm sorry. Before I get to these questions, I'm gonna do one more thing. Usually I'm like doing these things. I'm not trying to like sell nothing because I just want it to be fun. and just I don't want to make it all about me trying to pitch stuff. But you know what? I got to do a better job of this because I'm trying to build this golf disc manufacturing company, and I'm making these amazing golf discs. And I know from sales, if I don't present a call to action, that y'all aren't gonna take action. That's just the way sales works. So I'll do the occasional plug. So I make great discs. You can go to StokelyDiscs.com. There's an example. This is the contrast Lark. This is not dye. This is actually a 2-color plastic. Perfect, straight flying, easy to control fairway driver for any arm speed. It basically goes straight at lower arm speeds. James Proctor's on the contrast discs. They're fantastic. And I'll give the occasional disc plug throughout the day. If you like the stuff that I do, like if I'm entertaining you, if I'm making disc golf more fun, if I'm helping you play better, the best way you can show your appreciation is to give my discs a try at StokelyDiscs.com. All original molds. I'm not telling you to throw discs you don't like. I'm saying give my discs a shot. My discs are just as good, every bit as good as the major manufacturers. I'm just a little guy trying to compete against the all these monsters running the industry. So I'm trying, but I need you guys to give my disc a try and then tell everybody how good they are. All right. Next question. Yes, who are the first professional disc golfers on the West Coast? Who are the first professional disc golfers? So that's a really interesting question because technically everybody who's playing pro is if anybody playing for money is a professional, right? That's the difference between pro and amateur. The first people to make a living, I know that there were people that were at Oak Grove Park. I'm going to go and throw out some names. People like Jeff and Johnny Lissaman and Joe Orsino, who were at the very least supplementing their income, making money at the courses. So shout out to those guys, some of the OGs of professional disc golf. The first players to go out on tour and actually tour for a living, there were 2 of them that were the first, which was Glenn Whitlock and Greg Hosfeld, who actually hit the road in the 80s and somehow were making ends meet, throwing frisbees into metal baskets back when first place in the tournament might be $150. After that, it was Dan Ginley hit the road in his own vehicle, and then Steve Valencia joined him, followed by Jeff, Johnny Lissaman, and Mike Williams. Those were the next 3 guys to hit the road. And they went out for a couple years. And then I went out after that. I was either number 7 or number 8, depending on how you look at the list of people that went out and toured. So, and everything it's the growth of the sport. I mean, it was a progression of how much money we were making and whether or not you had your own vehicle and whether or not you were sleeping at people's houses or you were actually getting hotels and whether you were eating out at restaurants versus eating out of an ice chest. I was the first person to travel with my partner, my wife. I actually brought a non-player that I could support playing, right? So these are all just stepping stones in this history of the game that has evolved into these $1 million contracts, right? Steve, this is one of my favorite questions. How can I get one of your Robin discs? Not even available on your site. So first off, these are absolutely available at StokelyDiscs.com. The Robin, I'm gonna plug them since you asked the question. One of the stores, and I don't want to misquote, but one of the big stores just put out a video that said that the Robin was the most underrated fairway driver on the market. And I want to give the name of the store. Is there any way you can look that up? I shared it on my Instagram. Can you please look up to see who did that, Drana? You're going to be like my Jamie on the Joe Rogan show. Hey, can you look up? Because I would love, you can buy from them if you want, but you can get Robins at StokelyDiscs.com. It's a perfectly straight flying fairway driver. They're unbelievably good. Check with your local retail store first, though. Always give local shops first shot at your business. Hi, Scott and Adriana. What are your plans for the next 5 years? Oh my God, I don't even know what I'm doing in 5 days. Will you settle here in America It said something else, but it sounds political, and I'm not going there. I still love you, James, but I'm not. I don't do politics or elsewhere. What part of the world do you think provides the best prospects of living well from now until the end? Okay, so this is. Let me. If you guys, some of you know this, not all of you do. 6 years ago, I took every single thing I owned that I could not fit into a suitcase, and I gave it away or I threw it away. I don't have a storage unit. I don't have a box of stuff somewhere. I left with a suitcase on purpose. I just got rid of everything I owned. When I connected with Adriana, she had been a nomad for 7 years, traveling the country in an RV, just like in the movie Nomadland. She was working the RV parks, and she would do Amazon in the winter for Christmas, exactly like the movie. She had an RV with a bunch of stuff in it, but we got rid of the RV and every single thing she owned except what she could fit into a suitcase. So right now, as I'm traveling, I got the Stokely van. That's this. We don't sleep in the van. We do hotels. The van is filled with merchandise, tour clothing, and stuff like that. If you take away the work stuff, everything I own in this world, I can fit into one suitcase. And when I die, everything I own can be thrown away in one suitcase. I'm never going to own anything, neither is she. We're never going to live somewhere, ever. We are going to be traveling for the rest of our lives. I will be, whatever I got to do this. Teaching disc golf will probably be at the core of it, depending on how much my disc company blows up. Running events, traveling, doing disc golf. And not just disc golf, frisbee, guts, freestyle, double disc court. I'm never going to stop. This is me. I'm going to give my impression of me. This is like the last few years of my life. Bing, 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 bing. So that's it. I'm not ever going to have a home. Maybe when I get older, I'll slow down and not be in a different city every single day. Maybe I'll start staying in places for 2 days at a time, or maybe someday I'll stay in the same town for 3 days. That just sounds crazy. But no, I'm never going to stop traveling. I've been to 47 countries, and there's like 150 countries left to see. What depends on who you ask, but there's a lot of the world left to see I haven't seen that I need to see. Scott, when will we be doing a clinic in Bucharest, Romania? We currently have 20 regulars who play at least one round every weekend on our temporary course. Your presence could certainly help boost our exposure and hopefully get the course permanently installed. Oh my God, I would love to go back to Romania. We were in Romania in 2023. We had to leave the Schengen area of Europe because our visa, it's 90 days, but it's 90 days rolling. It just means you can't leave and come back and start your 90 days over. It's 90 days in a 12-month period. And I had like 4 months worth of events, but I could only stay in Schengen, Europe for 3 months. So I had to leave Schengen for a break in the middle and then come back and hit the events at the end. And we did this. We went to Romania, and we went to Bosnia, and is that where it was?
Serbia.
Serbia. Was Serbia part of Schengen or no? Was it outside? It was outside also. Anyways, we went there, and we loved Romania. Like, it was so great. And I posted, and as I was leaving Romania, I'd get contacted. Hey, we're disc golfing in Romania. No permanent course yet. And I said, as soon as you guys get a little club going, I'll come back. So I'll come back to Romania for sure. Yeah, loved Romania. Oh, by the way, here, check it out. This is the best part about Romania. I'll give you guys some little couple stories. So when you travel like around the world and you get to go to different countries, you get to experience different things. And it's amazing how when you cross a border, how much changes. Like from country, like literally, like you can go from roads with potholes to roads that are good. And when we went into Romania, it was wild because we crossed the border from Eastern Hungary, and in Eastern Hungary is very poor. There's the parks seemed empty. There's not a lot of activity on the streets. Everybody seemed much older. Young people all moved to like Budapest. The second we crossed the border into Romania, it's like it was alive. Like we saw like people installing power lines, and they were digging sewers, and like wearing like workman's clothes. Like basically, you can see the infrastructure like being built before your eyes, which is a sign of a country doing well, right? All the activity and everything being built. So we were super psyched to get in there. The only thing about Romania I didn't like was that everybody smokes. And I ain't judging you if you smoke. It's not that. It's smoking in restaurants is like still a thing, but it's not that there's somebody smoking in the restaurant. Everybody in the restaurant smokes. If there's 4 people having dinner, the first person to finish their meal lights up a cigarette, and the other 3 people keep eating. And then when the second person finishes, they light up a cigarette. In fact, so many people smoke there that we actually took our ashtray, like our very first restaurant in Romania, we turned it upside down and kind of slid it off to the side of the table. And when the waitress came over to take her order, she saw the ashtray. She goes, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." And she turns it back up and puts it in front of us. She thought that it got left there upside down, but never even occurred to her that maybe we don't smoke. So when you walk into a restaurant, it looked like the van from Fast Times at Ridgemont High, except it's cigarette smoke. And
You can't escape it on the patio.
no, even if you go out to the patios, it's the exact same in the patios. But I figured out the trick. Here's the trick. When you guys go to Romania, Serbia, Bosnia, it's the same everywhere there. Imagine you're going to your grandma's house for Thanksgiving, and grandma smokes like a chimney, and it's her home. Like if you have the mindset, look, I know grandma's going to be smoking the whole time, you kind of like are mentally prepared for it. That's probably the most boring. Hey, don't leave. That is the most boring story I'm going to tell all day. It sounded really funny in my head. All right. Randy says, pros have to travel all over the country. Who pays for travel, the pro or their sponsor? Do they get a per diem, or are they eating SpaghettiOs in their minivan to survive out of pocket? So the answer is all of the above, right? This is no different than any other industry, whether you're like a garage band where the 5 of you are sleeping in the van every night and you're getting paid, $60 for a gig. You put 30 in the tank and then buy $30 worth of bread and bologna, all the way up to the rock stars with their tour buses who get to fly to the next town and the bus shows up. Actually, no one's really doing. Well, I mean, I guess they're doing a little bit of that, but it's a spectrum, right? If you have the money, your sponsor's buying you a vehicle and giving you plenty of money to live off of because you're doing well. But there's tiers, and people make progressively less money based on how well you do and how well you move product. So most of the sponsor players do get a salary, which helps. And then most of them are kind of making the decision, well, then how am I going to do this? Am I going to spend it on hotels and have no money at the end of the season? Or am I going to crash at people's houses and then I will have money saved up at the end of the year for the winter? I won't have to get a job because I'll have money stashed away. All the way down to the people who aren't making a whole lot of money at all, who are basically hand to mouth. They're showing up at the tournaments. They're eating SpaghettiOs. They're eating. By the way, SpaghettiOs are way more expensive than bread and bologna. So they're eating bread and bologna, hoping to get enough money for SpaghettiOs. And
ramen.
Yeah, a lot of ramen. It's a lot of ramen. But the thing is, this is like, I got no problem with this. This is like paying your dues. Like the idea that like everybody, is crushing. Like, I don't know. Like I toured for years when first place at a tournament was less than the cost of the airfare, and I had to run events. I had to run clinics. I had to sell merchandise, and I had to hustle to make a living. And this is like forcing a kid to do chores. It's like, yeah, I would love to give my kid everything, and I hate to have him work, but at the same time, it's good for you. It builds character. It makes you appreciate the things that you have. So having to work for it, I'm totally cool with. I got no problem with that. The same way I got no problem with people like Paul and Simon who move millions and millions of dollars worth of discs, making millions and millions of dollars. They should. So I'm cool with all that. But it is the absolute full spectrum. There's actually part of me, and I don't want to piss anybody off when I say this, so forgive me if you're a touring pro listening, but I almost think some of the touring pros are making too much money. But hear me out. Don't click away and post that to Reddit. The reason I say this is that there is a number of pros who are kind of right in the middle who are making enough money where all they have to do is play. And because they're making enough money, they practice, they play, they're honing their skills, they're being successful. However, they're not building their brand or building a company or a business. They're not learning the skills they need for when the tour's over. And a lot of those players who are making, let's say you're making like $50,000 to $60,000 a year and you have a vehicle, like you're doing pretty good. That's a pretty decent living for, especially if you're younger. You do that for 5 or 6 years, and when you're done, you're like, oh shoot, what am I going to do with my life now? If those players were making a little bit less money and they had to develop something like teaching skills or running event skills or working harder on their social media, they could be positioning themselves for when they are no longer able to tour to continue doing disc golf for a living. It's certainly much easier because they will have built a brand around events or teaching or something. And so I wish the players on tour, most of them, I wish they had to hustle more because I think it would be better for them. And again, I mean this in the same way. I mean this in the same way a dad would say, you know, I would love to buy you a car, son, but no, you need to get a job so you can pay for your own insurance. Because we know that that's better for them to have to earn it that way. So don't get mad at me if you're a touring pro, but I think that I think hustling more is better for you. Chris says, will you be near Charlotte, North Carolina this year? Yes, I'm 100% going to be in Charlotte. I'll be at the Queen City. My plan this year is I'm going to be following around the tour for a lot of events, and I'm going to be telling the story of this kid, Dallas Garber, who's throwing Stokely discs, who's on tour for the first time. And I want to tell the story of what it's like to be a new player, a young player out on tour. I want to bring you guys along as much as I can on Dallas's tour, which means following Dallas from event to event. So I'm going to be at these pro tour events, but not competing. I was going to get a tour card, but apparently they want you to be good. And I think I crested that hill. I wasn't getting a tour card this year. So anyways, I'm going to follow Dallas John. I'm going to tell his story. And there's some other players out there. I'm going to be telling their story too. And I think that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to get to actually just enjoy and live vicariously through the young people throwing Stokely discs. And it's a perfect segue, since I'm going to be following Dallas, the Dallas Garber contrast Wrens. Like, look at these things. Unbelievable, right? These are not dyed. This is in the plastic. You guys can get contrast Wrens if you want to support Dallas, if you want to support Stokely discs and being entertained and playing better at disc golf. And if you want to support a young touring pro, Dallas Garber, you can get those at StokelyDiscs.com. I always say check with your local retail store first, but if you go to StokelyDiscs.com, like the more successful my disc company is, the more I'm just going to do fun stuff for disc golf and make things like I want to entertain people and I want to teach people and I want to turn off. Yeah, it is off. How did the AC turn on when literally the off button is? Oh, you know how else you can turn off? Unplug it. That is so bizarre. The air conditioner turned on, and then I opened up the thing right here to turn it off, and the little light next to the off button was on. So the off button was on, and it turned on. So anyways, yeah, go to StokelyDisc.com, support what I do, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to do more stuff to make disc golf fun, and definitely more tutorials and help everybody get better. All right. Hold on, I got to reopen my browser. All right. Here we go. Les says, hey, Scott, good morning. What does a professional athlete like yourself do to train and remain one of the best players in the world consistently for so many years? I know boring stuff, but I started doing simple wrist exercises a few months ago, and it has made amazing difference in my distance and confidence throwing a disc. It just made me think about what else I could or should be doing at age 63 besides the obvious form and technique stuff. Thank you and stay safe. Okay, what do I do to be competitive? Now, we're going to put quotes around the word competitive. I did 3 years on the Pro Tour in 2022, 23, and 24, and I did it at age 52, 53, and 54. So I was like 10 years older than the second oldest player on tour. I cashed at exactly 50% of the disc golf pro tour events I played in. Like I was your definition of a mediocre player on the pro tour. I cashed at 50% of the events. I got a third and 2/5 in Europe. I got a ninth at a whatever. No, I got 11th at a DGPT in the US. But I was I was a very average player on the pro tour. Now, because I was in my mid 50s, I'm actually like incredibly proud of that. Every time I cashed at a tournament and shot 1030 for a weekend, I was pretty damn happy. Because of my age, I'm in my mid 50s. In my opinion, outside of technique, right? Technique comes first. Yeah, you got to take care of your body. And I'm going to say something. Please don't get mad at me for saying this. It starts with not carrying excess weight. Okay. Like the amount of strain that you put on your body with every extra pound that you have. And I don't mean you got to be perfect, not when you're older, especially, but carrying that extra weight is so hard on your joints. But just think about it. Like, how fast would you throw a disc if it was several pounds heavier? Well, not that fast, right? Well, if you have several pounds of weight in your arm that you don't need to have there, that is excess weight you're trying to pull. You're not going to throw as far, period. You're not going to throw as well. You're going to get more fatigued. I think that's the single most important thing. The second thing, when it comes to exercises and stretching, I personally, and this is out of my area of expertise, but I can speak for myself, I don't believe in any specific throwing exercises. You use so many different muscles when you play, especially when you're throwing backhand and sidearm, and then throwing different utility shots, overhands. Then you're throwing from all sorts of different positions. You're leaning, you're extending out, you're dropping to a knee. There's very little of your body that you don't use when you play. So I think you have to have your entire body stronger, which means going to a gym. That doesn't mean you have to go to a gym. You can do something like jujitsu, rock climbing. There's other things that are certainly healthy, and they're probably way more fun than a gym. I recommend that too. But I don't think it's too much to ask to go to a gym a couple days a week and just do a full body workout. And I think you will see the rewards of doing that, not just in disc golf, but in life. But I think it starts with not carrying the excess weight. Like, I don't care how strong you are. You just have to, and again, don't get mad at me. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm answering a question honestly. By the way, if you go look on Reddit, like, I teach all over the country. I'll be teaching events, having teaching stuff all over the country like I do every other year. This year, it's kind of how I pay to be on the road. And I'm straight with everybody. Like, you won't find a single post on Reddit that said, "Oh, I paid him money, and then he was just like super nice to me because I paid him money." Like, that's not what you're paying for. Like, when I'm teaching, I'm not mean. I'm not going to like be insulting, but I'm also not going to coddle you and say, "Oh, you did really, really good." I'm going to, like, you ask me, like, how can I improve? I'm going to tell you. I'm going to give you a straight answer. If you don't like that answer, well, then pay someone else to give you an answer, because that's what you're going to get from me. Do you think a commission for disc golf should be established to take our game from hobby to sport? This is from Richard. All right. I'm going to push back on the question, Richard. First off, thank you for writing. But we are a sport. We're 100% a sport. You have people making a living playing this game. You got people paying to watch. You got people buying products because players' names are on products. Of course, we're a sport. Just because we're not as big as some sports doesn't mean that we're not a sport. It just means that that's the size we are today. I would love for my friends to make lots and lots and lots of money. Of course I would. But I don't think we become better if we do. One of the things it's actually really interesting. It's more of a philosophical answer, but people ask me all the time. They're like, and I'm not kidding. When I say all the time, I'm saying in the last 5 years, I've gotten this 100 times. What can we do to fix disc golf? And every single time I've been kind of perplexed by the question. It's like, what do you mean fix disc golf? Like, I think disc golf is crushing. It's like, well, how can we be more like ball golf? It's like, well, hold on a second. ball golf, in terms of television exposure, sponsorship deals, and prize money, crushing disc golf, right? Okay, that's just math. We can see this. But in terms of rounds played, participation, being more of a family activity, being able to play for 2 hours on the way home from work, like disc golf in every other way is crushing ball golf, right? Ball golf's winning this small area that affects 100 people. But for the millions of recreational players out there, I don't think there's a single thing that ball golf does better than disc golf. I mean, I'm sorry, like I can't imagine being a dad with 3 kids and wanting to take up ball golf as a hobby with them. I mean, I'd have to make like $500,000 a year to join the country club where we could actually play, and that would only be on Saturdays and Sundays. It takes 5 hours to play a damn round. Like I would not trade my sport for ball golf. And even though that might have meant I made more money, I give two craps about that. I care so much more about all the sport things that our sport does well. So I think disc golf is crushing. And by the way, PDJ numbers, and there are some numbers that have been flatlined or on the decline a little bit. That doesn't mean the sport's on the decline. The sport is still putting courses in the ground everywhere. Participation is still growing. Like, we're killing it. Disc golf is crushing. So that's my 2 cents. Graham says, I finished your audiobook. He's talking about my autobiography, Scott Stokely, Growing Up Disc Golf, available on Amazon or Audible. He says, I finished it a couple weeks ago and it was awesome. But some time has passed since its release. Anything you wish you had added or deleted? Any other disc golf related audiobooks you would recommend? So I actually just did. I posted 4 videos about things that had changed since I released the book 6 years ago. Some of them hadn't changed. Some of the things in my book, I just like, it's my first 25 years playing disc golf, but it's also following the first 25 years of disc golf. So I played my first round of Frisbee golf on the world's first permanent Frisbee golf course when it was the only Frisbee golf course in the entire world. This was back in around 1976. Now, I didn't start playing every day until 1980, 81. So I wasn't playing when I was 7 years old every day. But by the time I was 11 years old, I was. And so my autobiography is telling my story growing up in the sport, but it's also telling the history of the sport. And I tried to be as historically accurate as possible. And then I still missed some things. Like, I mean, I got some things wrong, but I made some correction videos about historical accuracies that people have pointed out since the book came out. But no, I mean, I stand by what's in the book. You know, I mean, I think it came out really good. I'm really proud of it. I don't know what else to say. You know, I had a co-author that certainly helped me a lot because I'm not a writer, and I had an audio engineer help me with the audiobook to make it sound good because I read it and they took my reading and made it sound way better than I actually did. So, yeah, I think that's it. But yeah, go check out the book, Audible and Amazon, Scott Stokely, Growing Up Disc Golf, and any other disc golf related audiobooks I would recommend. I don't want to handpick. All of them. Like, you know, anything you can get your hands on, you know, I would say definitely do. Go read the reviews on Amazon. Whoever has the most stars, get that one. I say that because I think I got the most stars. Drew says, when will you rename your company Herniated Discs? I thought about actually making a disc line called the Broken Hip, like where the discs would be the Broken Hip, the Viagra, the Geritol, the fiber. Yeah, I thought that'd be kind of fun because, you know, for some weird reason, I've attracted an older audience. I don't know how that works, but apparently older people are following me. I don't know why. Not a whole lot of 20-year-olds on TikTok following the Stokely brand, but they will follow the Dallas Garber brand and the other players I'm about to announce. Hey, by the way, you guys, I'm going to be doing this throughout the show because I got to do a better job. If you guys haven't been throwing the Ching discs, this is the company that we purchased. There are 5 on the Ching Juju. There are 5 thumb divots, each a different space from the edge. So you can actually pick the thumb placement where your thumb fits best. It helps you grip this disc better, especially when it's really cold and your discs are slick, or when your hands are sweaty. But even if it's not, it's a great way to just learn how to like what thumb placement works best for you. There's no right answer. This is perfectly straight flying. It has almost zero fade. It's the closest thing to an ultimate disc. If you come from ultimate, like you absolutely like, you know how well you can throw. You can throw an ultra star and you can hit a dime on a moving target with an ultra star. And then golf discs fly differently, right? These fly like ultimate discs, but they're a little bit smaller and you can get them a little bit heavier. So they actually will fly better for disc golf than an ultra star for sure. These are golf discs, but the flight path is the closest thing to ultimate you're going to get. You can get them at StokeleyDiscs.com. So you guys, if you like this stuff, support the channel. Okay. Michael Ray says, once proper form and power pocket is discovered, how do you learn to control it and develop it further? You're going to hate my answer, but you just have to practice. So here's the thing about form. I'm going to give you guys an algorithm, right? There's a lot of things that play a part in getting good at disc golf, but there's two that trump everything. Number one is technique. I call it mechanics. So I'm going to use the word mechanics, but I mean form, technique, same thing. There's mechanics and practice. Mechanics are your ceiling. Right? That's the limit to how good you can get. Practice is how close you can get to your ceiling. So basically what this means is that if your mechanics are bad, you have a low ceiling. You can practice till you're blue in the face, but that ceiling is going to stop you from getting any better because your technique is bad. If you have good mechanics and you don't practice, you're still down here. You're not going to reach your ceiling because you haven't practiced, because practice gets you to your ceiling. If you have good mechanics and you practice, you have a high ceiling and you get as close to your ceiling as possible. So once you develop good form, then you have to practice. I'll give you a very oversimplified example of this. You could take a lesson on a ball golf course and you could learn flawless putting mechanics in ball golf in one session, where your putting mechanics are as good as any pro ball golfer out there. It doesn't make you good at putting. All it means is now that you have good mechanics, when you practice, you'll improve and eventually become good. But you can't get better than your mechanics allow you, right? Now, if you have bad putting mechanics, no matter how much you practice, there's a ceiling. You're not going to get any better. So you can learn proper technique, but then you got to put the time in. That's the reality. Now, as far as how to practice, field work or network, but like throwing, it's critical. It's critical that you go out there. If you're just playing rounds of golf, you're going to improve. You're going to have fun. You're going to enjoy the game. If all you're doing is playing rounds, there's always a ceiling on how good you get. You got to actually put some time in the field. Doesn't mean you got to go out every day for hours, but like if you were a ball golfer, you would spend time on the driving range. Well, you got to spend time on the driving range in disc golf and on the putting green. Quinn says, oh, by the way, I said any questions. I said no questions are off limit. So Quinn says, if you could choose the next Secretary of Homeland Security, who would it be? I said no questions off limits, but I didn't say I was going to answer all of them, because one of the things I've deliberately done is I don't do politics. I certainly don't mind you asking, Quinn. It's a real thing. I think politics are really, really important. I personally, though, think that politics does not need to infect every single aspect of our lives, that we as human beings, we need a break from politics, just like we need a break from work, just like you need a break from responsibilities. We need breaks in life. To me, disc golf is a break from the real world. So even though I think these things are incredibly important, and I will even tell you that I have extremely strong opinions politically, you will never hear me say them out loud, because when you come to my events or come to my channels, that's not the time and place. So I'm going to give you guys a break. So the Director of Homeland Security will be, I don't have an answer. No politics. No politics. Important question, but just not for me. I'm also not qualified. That's the other thing. I'll say one last thing about this. I don't understand the fact that nobody is able to say I don't know. Like I don't understand global economics. I don't understand all the things that happen around the world at a level where even I feel like my opinion's valid. Like, well, so and so did something, and half the people think it's a great idea, and half the people think it was a horrific idea. And I'm like, does not anybody think I wasn't in those meetings? Maybe I don't know all the facts. I don't know. Ignorance is bliss. Dan says, I'm curious, in 10 years, where do you see this is a good question. Where do you see age protected divisions comparing to the MPO division in terms of numbers at the touring level? COVID gave us a big boom in players. Could you see Masters Championships getting more eyes and competitors as we go further? And how and would could it be different at the local level 10 years from now compared to the touring level? So I'm going to give an answer. This is where I hate being honest because I wind up giving answers that don't make everybody happy, but you're always getting the straight from me. So I think that on a participation level, I think age protected divisions are going to continue to grow and get huge, and they're going to be popular. And it's fantastic that we have these. I mean, that's what divisions are for. So everybody can compete with a group of players that they can be competitive with. And that includes the amateur divisions, right? It's absolutely fantastic. I love it. Do I think it's going to continue to get more and more exposure outside of major like the majors, like the World Masters Championships? I don't think so. And the only reason I say this is not that I don't want it to be. It's not that I don't want my friends to get all the success and the attention. And it's not that I'm rooting against that happening. But when it comes to watching sports, I'm a big believer in the free market, and the free market within the world of sports has kind of said we want to watch the best players. And within sports, that's what we get. We get to watch, I mean, I can't imagine there not being a senior NBA tour if people wanted to see the old guys play. These were our heroes 10 years ago who had to retire because father time always wins, and yet we don't want to watch them play. Not at a level that actually makes it a product. The only time I've ever seen the senior division of a sport really become something was a perfect storm, where the senior PGA Tour had Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus and Gary Player and Chichi Rodriguez, and I'm not a golfer, but I know some of the names, and Tom Kite, and there were it was a perfect storm of big name personalities that had all aged out that people still wanted to go see. Right, it was Jack versus Arnie, right? That was a big deal, and I think that there's some potential for that. I think there could become a point where people are like, I want to see Paul go against Ricky and Simon. I think that audience will carry over some, but at the end of the day, it's sports. We want to see the elite of the elite. I think the market generally votes for that. Now, there is there's one exception to that, which has been college sports. Well, at least within a couple sports. And I think that has a lot more to do with the tribalism that comes from being alumni or being within a state. And I think there's maybe some merit to that. I don't know how you'd replicate that in different divisions in a single sport, though. I hope I'm wrong. I hope the senior disc golf tour becomes this major thing that people watch. I think that'd be really cool. I think it's a challenge. I think people want to see Anthony Barella throw. It's just the way it is. They want to see Kristen dominate while she was dominating. All right. Michael says, are you doing any classes near Wyoming? Would love to get in one, but Wyoming never gets any cool visits from anyone. Okay, I'm definitely coming to Wyoming then. Cheyenne is less than 2 hours from Denver. I ran an event in Cheyenne recently, so I'm a pretty cool person. It's closer to Casper to buy your class. Plus, I think you would get out a good turnout in Cheyenne. We did Cheyenne, right? Did we not do Cheyenne? I ran an event.
It's been a year or two.
Has it been a year or two? Okay, since we've been in Cheyenne? I'll tell you when I did do an event in Cheyenne. I did an event in Cheyenne September 12th, 2000. So I was actually in Cheyenne the day after 9/11, and we were like, that was people were like nationwide were still kind of like, what the hell just happened here? And I remember thinking at the time, I was like, should I cancel the event? Well, I don't know. It's a frisbee golf class in in Wyoming. I don't think I should cancel it. But it was a very weird time, and I didn't know what I was supposed to do. Like no one knew what they were supposed to do. Like, are we like would it be disrespectful to run a frisbee tournament the next day, or should you prove that you can't stop America by moving forward? I don't know. It was very weird, but I did do Cheyenne then. So, but maybe I didn't do it last year. I promise I'll come back to Cheyenne. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. Joshua says, I appreciate the offer. I want to start a disc golf company. I have apparel designs and a cool logo, but in a market test I did, most people strongly disliked that I used AI. Ooh, we're going to talk about AI. Cool. We're going to use AI to convert my poor drawings to usable graphics. I will pay an artist if need be, but I worry the concept isn't strong enough to invest any money. Any thoughts? And if apparel is a bad idea, do you see opportunities within the disc golf community for better new products or services? Love the content. Any thoughts? Stay rad. So first off, thank you for saying that I'm rad. Second off, most of my audience actually knows what the word rad means. So I got an older audience. So for you young people, it's short for radical. What am I saying? There's no young people watching hardly. Okay, so yeah, I do have an answer for you. So first off, disc golf is like a $500 million industry. That means disc golf is big enough for anyone out there who wants to potentially start a successful company within the sport, right? Whether you're just selling custom discs, whether you're opening a pro shop, whether you're opening a private course, doing disc golf apparel, making golf bags, running clinics, doing content, there's all sorts of things you can do. But I think there's a formula to doing it. Unless you have really deep pockets, like if you have deep pockets, you can just throw money to anything and kind of like build as you go. But in the real world, like you said, money, how much money do you put into this? The best thing you can do is start to build a brand first before the product. Like do something in social media where you get people following. And get them following you because you're not trying to sell them something. Like even though I had all this success in the 90s and all this stuff, I made hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of videos, tutorial videos before I was charging for anything. I had to build up a name and a brand as a teacher. Then when I said I have something to sell, people lined up to buy. But if I had done it the other way around, it's tough. So like just having a cool shirt might sell people, but then how do you even get that shirt in front of people? But if you have people who are following you, they're going to start asking you, hey, when are you going to start making shirts? When are you going to start doing this? And the social media is free. When it comes to making social media, what you do, and this, by the way, this is not just for Joshua, this is for anybody who wants to be in the disc golf business. You lean into your strengths, okay? Don't try to do what you're not good at. Like if you're not good at teaching, don't try to teach. That's not your strength. Like if you're not funny, don't try to make a funny channel. It's just going to be pure cringe. Like what are you good at? Are you good at teaching? Are you good at filming other people? Are you good at interviewing? Are you good at being funny? Like, take your strength and then push it, and then grow an audience around that, and then post. You got to post every single day. Instagram, Facebook, for sure, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And then things like TikTok and X and other channels, like ain't gonna hurt. But the first three are the three big ones. And when you build an audience, once you get just even a few thousand people following you, now you can start to push product in front of them and people will buy your product. But you got to go in that order, I think. If you just start investing money now and say, hey, I just made 150 shirts with this cool design, well, how do people even see them? Well, if you try to pay for advertising, then you got to get a return on investment on that ad space, which is going to be really tough to do. So getting an audience first is the way to do it. In my opinion, I think it just starts there. And by the way, speaking of pitching products, you guys, I got to do more of this. The Peregrine from Stokely Discs. This is if you guys are having fun, if you're enjoying the snow day, give my discs a try. The Stokely discs they're as good as every big major manufacturer out there. I know that most people want to support the gigantic mega companies. Like I know this is just how it works. All you got to do is go down to Main Street USA, and then you go to the place that's zoned for the big gigantic strip mall stores. And I know that the vast majority of people would rather shop at the big giant mega stores. But it doesn't mean the mom and pop's restaurant isn't good. It doesn't mean that the local hardware store doesn't carry quality products, right? I'm the little guy for now. And so if you go to Stokely Discs and try these discs, they're just as good as every major manufacturer's discs out there. So the Peregrine is a super ridiculously good, overstable high-speed driver. You want it to have a sidearm with a high-speed driver that you can control because it's overstable, meaning it has a high fade. Like the Peregrine's perfect. Throw the Peregrine. If you're right-handed, it's going to turn right at the end of its flight. You will not flip this disc to the left and have it roll over. Like it is made for a specific shot. And if you're new to the sidearm, it's super easy to control. So StokelyDiscs.com. All right. Let's see here. Wes says, looking forward to seeing you in Florence, Alabama later this year. I'm going to be in Alabama, in Florence later this year. I'm running events. I just announced, or I have a bunch of events coming up in Mississippi and Alabama, like 12 events. I'm about to post 6 more events in Georgia, and I'll be running events all across the country the rest of the year. And yeah, I love running events. I love meeting people. I gotta keep the lights on as I'm trying to grow Stokely discs and Ching discs like this. Like I know this company's gonna work, but we got to keep the lights on during the first few years because that's the way it works when you start a new business. So these events is literally how I'm paying. I literally pay for some of my employees from running disc golf events around the country, but it's all gonna work. I know what I'm doing. All right. Eric says, everyone asks about driving tips. Can you discuss your putting thoughts? Yeah, absolutely. So, God, this could turn into a 30-minute thing on putting, and I want to try to give the more simple version of this, okay? And I'm going to try to do it without explaining like all the details. I'm going to ask you to take a leap of faith here and just go with me on this one. I do not believe you can choose your putting form, right? Spin putt, push putt, or push putt. Actually, let me explain. A spin putt is a putt that predominantly uses the elbow as the main hinge. That's a spin putt. Shoulders used a little bit, wrist is allowed, but if it's mostly elbow, it's a spin putt. Push putt has the wrist and elbow locked in place. The only hinge is going to be the shoulder. That's going to go in an up and down motion because wrist and elbow don't move. And then a spush putt is a hybrid between the two. A spush putt is mostly shoulder, but you allow the elbow and maybe the wrist to give it a little bit of pop at the end to put a little spin on it. All 3 of those are valid putting techniques, okay? We are never going to get to a point in our sport where all the pros are using one of those putts. There's a reason why I say this. This is not just me just voicing my opinion that they all work. There's a mechanical reason why this is the case. All 3 of those putting forms are valid, but only one of those putting forms is valid for you. Everybody has a different body. Every single moving part, every hinge, basically every joint on our body moves a little differently from person to person. Okay, all of these joints have a very narrow range of motion where they most fluently and smoothly move, but they have a wider range where they will still move, but they're not moving efficiently and smoothly. In order to be successful in your putt, all of these different moving parts have to move in a very natural motion for your body. That will differ from player to player. This is why when you look at the Pro Tour, you see such a wide variety of putting forms and putting stances, where your feet are, where your hips are lined up, where your shoulders are pointing. if everybody had an identical body, meaning our joints all aligned at identical angles, and we all had an identical amount of muscle mass in different areas, and we all had like identical flexibility, and we all had the identical past injuries that reduce our motions in an identical way, there would be a universally correct putting stance and a putting form. There would be a mechanically correct way to putt that everybody would use. It would be obvious. The people using this stance and that form would gain a competitive advantage over the players that didn't, and those players who didn't would have to then change and basically join the people that are the most successful and putt exactly like them. That hasn't happened, and it will never happen because we don't have identical bodies. So the first part of putting is to recognize this, is to recognize that you cannot choose your stance, you cannot choose your form. You can't copy a pro that you like because they have a different body mechanically than you do. There's differences between you and them. Trying to putt exactly like them is a bad idea. If it works, you got lucky. You have to be open to finding your stance and your form. And to do that, you have to experiment with different putting stances and putting forms and pay attention to where your body is moving most smoothly and fluidly. And wherever that is your stance and your form. It could wind up being a push putt. You could wind up being a spin putter. You could wind up being a rotating push putter. You could wind up being like any of these putts. But I do not believe you get to choose your stance and form, nor can I tell you your stance and form. That is how your individual body moves. And I believe this as much as I believe anything I teach. Again, that's my explanation as to why there's different stances and forms on the Pro Tour. That shouldn't happen. That's my explanation. So you have to find your stance and your form where your body moves most smoothly. Wherever you are smoothest, have the best balance, and feel the most strength. Those are the three things: smooth, balanced, and strong. Whatever stance and form gives you those three things is your stance and form. And wherever that stance and form is, we don't get to decide. Your body determined where it's smoothest. You can't decide that. Once you've done that, then you're going to do three things. Number one, everything with the disc is away from the target and towards the target. Number two, you aim with your follow through, meaning your hand stops at the point of release to ensure that the disc is only moving towards the target and no other way. In other words, you don't follow through up here or follow through like off to the side, because if you do, this object is not just going towards the target, it's going other directions other than towards the target. And the third is the golden rule of putting, and that means the golden rule says you leave your hand up at the point of release until the disc hits something to confirm that you followed the second rule, which was your hand only moved towards the target. So it's away and towards, leave your hand up to confirm it's going towards, or aim with your follow through, or your hand stops at the point of release to confirm you're going towards, and then leave your hand up to confirm that it was only going towards, when you have a stance and a form where your body's moving smoothly. So, God, it's so hard to talk about that in just a short video, but that's the short of it. By the way, if you like the Wren from Stokely Disc, that's my beadless putter. If you like beaded putters, that's the Finch. You can get those at StokelyDisc.com. I encourage you to try out Stokely Discs. You're going to love them for sure. Like, I want to keep making tutorial content. I want to keep making entertaining, doing Christmas shows and doing shows and making disc golf more fun and running events. And I need this company to be successful for me to keep doing all this cool stuff for you guys. So if I've ever made a video that has helped you play better, the best way you can thank me is to give Stokely Discs a try. Go to StokelyDisc.com. Always check with your local retail store first. I always encourage supporting local vendors and pro shops, always. But if they don't carry the discs you're looking for, go to StokelyDisc.com. Try Stokely Discs. I promise you're going to love them. Then tell everybody how great they are. Or you're more than welcome to support these big, gigantic companies that run the industry. They're all run by friends of mine who I love. So I'm not anti the big companies. I know most people would rather support the big companies. That's just the way the world works. But if you if you want to get on board with one of the little guys who's making great discs, who's trying to take on the big companies, if you want to kind of get behind that, I would welcome you on my team. What? Yeah, it's a little bit. Yeah, we're talking a little punk rock. It's a little bit. We're taking on the establishment. But the difference between this, like, I'm old school punk from my younger days. The difference though between this though is when I was younger, I wanted to stick it to the man because I hated the man. I don't hate any of these big companies. In fact, I'm going to tell you guys here, newsflash. I'm going to tell you guys right now, the biggest problem I have with the major manufacturers, Discraft, Innova, MVP, House of Disc. Do you want to know the biggest problem I have with those 4 companies? Is that they make really good discs, right? I hate that. Like, it would be so easy to take them on if their discs didn't fly well or if their plastic was bad. Like, they don't. These guys they're great companies run by friends of mine who I love and who make good products. So me taking them on, I can't throw any of them under the bus or fault them.
Is it gonna bother you if I make some?
No, you go for it. Thank you. So anyways, all I'm saying is if you want to try something new and actually join the little guy who's trying to take on the big guys, if you want to be part of that story, stokewithdisc.com. By the way, check this out. Look at this. These are the James Proctor Larks. I mean, I'm making beautiful discs that fly well. You just got to give them a try. You're going to be addicted. What?
Did you unplug your refrigerator?
Oh, I did. You can plug it back. I don't know. I unplugged something. It was making noises.
It's making noise. I was trying to.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, just unplug it when you're done. All right. Let's see here. Let me go ahead and let me pull up my next page.
A lot of noise, so sorry.
Oh, that's right. It's going to get loud here in a second. Apparently, where do I find the next page? I'll search Facebook. Hold on. I got a whole bunch more questions here. I know some of the questions are, there we go. I got a bunch of other questions on my disc golfer page.
There's some on long story.
Yeah, I posted that. I'm going to be doing those last. All right.
How are you doing on coffee? Do you need
I got plenty of coffee. All right, you guys. So, I just saw one of the questions that came in. You guys are going to laugh when you see this. All right. Next question. What is your favorite state to throw in? What is your least favorite state to throw in? Wow. Let's see if I can.
State of sobriety.
The state of sobriety. No, my favorite state to throw in. Oh God, how do I give these answers without? It's going to sound like I'm just sucking up to everybody when I say this because I love my Frisbee friends everywhere. Like, so this has nothing to do with the disc golf community. My favorite state to play in is Utah. With Idaho is a pretty close second. I'm talking just about states here. Is that so? One of the things that like my happy place is I like to backcountry camp. Like I like to camp, but I don't like to camp in campgrounds. Like I like to disappear into the wilderness, whether it's deep into a forest, deep into the Rocky Mountains, like out in the middle of the desert somewhere, and then not see people for days or weeks. Like that like my happy place is just me and Adriana vanished out in the middle of nowhere. And Utah is the most beautiful place in the whole country to do that. Especially southern Utah. Oh my God. They got the 5 big national parks there, but in between the national parks is just as pretty as the national parks. Like the southern third of Utah, you can't go wrong. Now I'm going to give you guys a little tip about this. Let me give you guys, a lot of you don't know this, especially if you don't live out west. So about 1/3 of the western third of the U.S. The U.S. is pretty damn big, right? So 1/3 of the western third is still a massive amount of space. We own as Americans. It is Bureau of Land Management. They call it BLM land, the forestry land. But there's about 1/3 of the western third of the U.S. you can just camp on. You don't need permits. You don't need to ask permission. You literally can just find a road, like in BLM land, just find a dirt road, just drive down the road over a mountain and just put up a tent. and you can stay for, is it 2 weeks or 4?
14 days and one
You can stay
vacation.
14 days, and then you're required. Only thing, you can't live there. You have to move a whole mile away.
You can't put up
But
any
it
permanent structure.
right. You can't build any permanent structures. So, but here's the thing: it doesn't matter if you don't feel like moving a mile after 14 days because you haven't seen a ranger in 14 days. No one even knows you're there. Like, this belongs to us. This is where I've traveled all over the world. This is an American thing that we have all this space that belongs to us.
The next
So Utah-
thing is the way that Sweden kind of just lets people.
Yeah, Sweden. No, you're right. So yeah, so thank you. So Sweden does have something that they have similar things where you have access to the land. So yeah, I retract what I said. It's not just an American thing, but it's one of the great things about America is that this belongs to us. So Utah is the most beautiful place to do that. Like, I've backpacked in Death Valley where like you're on Mars. You cross the first mountain and you might as well be on another planet. And there's no noise and no sound and no people. I'm doing a backpacking trip this summer at Isle Royale up in Lake Superior, where we're going to get into the backcountry. How do we prevent TDs from putting older guys on the pink pads? We may be 60, but came to play in a competition. Jim, I will give you 2 answers to that. So basically, yeah, how do you prevent them from putting the 60-year-olds on those pads? I'll tell you 2 things. Number 1, you talk to the TD and just ask them. Get together with your other competitors and ask them. You can always ask them to put you on the regular pads, and if your division agrees, they agree. But the other answer I'm going to give you, Jim, please don't be mad at me when I say this, but philosophically, I'm much more of a believer in the tournament director. That's their thing, and my job as a player is to show up and play their thing as they presented it. That's the challenge that they gave me, and if that's the challenge that he gives you, you can petition them, but at the end of the day, that's the course they gave. Like, I give the same. I'm not a hypocrite. I give the exact same answers when people say, "How do you feel about elevated baskets?" And my answer has always been, it's none of my business what I think. Like, that course designer decided that was needed for that challenge for that hole. Whether I agree or disagree is irrelevant. My job as a player is to come take on the challenge that was presented to me. And so yeah, I kind of feel that way. But you can always ask them. Look, if there's 4 of you and you're like, dude, we don't want to play those pads. We're 60. We're like, no, we can play the real pads. Like, I think most TDs are going to cut you some slack. Who are my favorite bands? Oh, well, starting with Guar. I'll tell you, there's a lot, but I'm just gonna pick one. So if you guys want to go look up one band, if you haven't heard of it, go look up the Toy Dolls. They've been around for like 40 years. They are the most unique punk rock band. Like, nobody sounds like the Toy Dolls. And if there's one band would introduce someone to where they just go, "Oh my God, thank you so much for telling me about this band," because I'm in love with them. It's the Toy Dolls. Joe says, will there wait, what the hell just happened? Oh. I got a really weird question coming up here in a second. Will there ever be a disc that you placed in a basket in my backyard? Yeah, so one of the things I do, I like to do, when I'm driving, when I'm traveling, when I see a basket in someone's yard, I usually just pull over and throw a disc at it and then drive off and leave it in their yard. I've been doing that for a while. Are disc golfers in better shape than ultimate players?
I mean, just spent the weekend on the beach.
Yeah, the answer to that is no, they're not. Yeah, no, look, it's a different sport. I mean, it's a cardio sport. It is, but so comparing ultimate to disc golf is almost like comparing basketball to bowling. I mean, just because they both have balls, right? They're like, it's such a whole different. Like, there's some crossover, but there's some basketball players who like to bowl too, right? But like I love Ultimate. Like but it's a whole like the mental part, like the personality that plays Ultimate and the personality that plays disc golf is two radically different types of people. Like I'm not a runner. Like I don't run. Just that's not I wasn't given that. Like I was given fast arms, but in order to get whatever thing gave me fast arms was literally taken and extracted from my legs. Like when I run, like I've heard people say that when I run, like that they've said things like, "Wow, it's like your legs are moving, but it's like you're standing in place." I think that's pretty accurate. I've watched videos of me running. So it's just not that's not my sport. But are they in better shape? Yeah, they probably are. Although I will say this, I think that they drink more. I think the ultimate players drink more. So I think
I don't know. There's been some rec leagues that.
yeah, that's probably
don't
true.
offer the money.
I'm trying to get on the side of disc golf here. So yeah. No, here, I'll say this right now, and I'm gonna put this in writing. Disc golfers are better looking than ultimate players, even though they might be in better shape. There you go.
They might be better at seeing,
Yeah.
the discs in the weeds or up in the tree. I don't
Yeah.
know about looking.
We have better eyes. I'm curious how you came up with the shape of the robin. Have you thrown it a lot? How did you test it out? I want to buy one, but it's not sold locally. StokelyDiscs.com. Okay, you guys, this disc is you cannot get a better straight flying fairway driver than the Robin, except for the Lark if you're throwing like less than 200 feet. If you throw less than 200 feet, the Lark is going to fly a little bit straighter for you. This disc is, I can't even tell you guys, like the Robin is going to be a disc that is going to grow on people over time, and people are going to be throwing this disc in 20 years because it's perfect. Like it's literally a perfectly straight flying fairway driver. If you throw it over 300 feet, you put on a tiny bit of hyzer, it'll pop up straight. But it also has very little fade at the end, which means at the end of the flight, it doesn't bank really hard. It tends to keep going forward. Not as straight as like a juju or a putter, but no driver does. But this is like it's unbelievable. Now, as far as how I came up with it, it's very simple. I didn't. So I've tried to be really like transparent with Stokely Discs and share everything about the company. These are not third-party manufactured. Okay, these are not manufactured by some other company. Every single Stokely disc made and chain disc made is run on a machine that we own, me and my partner. It comes from a mold, an original mold with plastic that we purchased, shipped out of a warehouse that we own. Like these are our discs. These are all original. Having said that, it's hard to make golf discs. And the challenge of making golf discs, among other things, is that when you build a mold, the disc does not come out of the mold identical to the shape of the mold. Okay, when plastic cools, it shrinks. When it comes out, it domes, it changes shape. And when it comes to drivers, the slightest little changes have a massive effect in flight. Perfect example, look at a disc like the gold standard for drivers, right, which is the Destroyer. So I'm not knocking the Innova and the Destroyer. I'm calling the Destroyer the gold standard for high-speed drivers. But a Halo Destroyer, a Star Destroyer, a Champion Destroyer, and a G-Star Destroyer, all four of them fly differently because they have four different plastic types, which make real subtle differences in how they come out. But if you looked at those discs side by side, it is very hard to tell them apart. Yet they're clearly four different flight characteristics from something this subtle. So you can't just build a mold off the shape of a disc and then have it come out. So you need to build a mold to account for these things that are going to happen. But then in the manufacturing process, there's all sorts of factors like how fast the disc is cooling and temperatures and pressures, and then every single additive and different plastic types react differently when they cool. And like this is art. This isn't just pure science. There's an art to it. So because of those things, we made the decision that even though we were doing all of our, like we're in complete control over this manufacturing, we would get help within the industry for disc design and the manufacturing process. Doing this, we spend more money, cost us more money because we obviously there's another piece of the Stokely Discs business model that cost money. The trade-off in doing this is that we didn't want to release our first 2, 3, 4 discs that were stinkers, that didn't fly great, but we spent $25,000 on a mold, so we kind of have to sell these because we need to sell discs to buy more molds or something like that. We didn't want to do that and then start off with this bad reputation for not making good discs that we had to overcome by telling people, ooh, our new disc is actually good. Like that's not our business model. We said, let's make some unbelievably good discs right out of the gate. That's what we did. So we invested the money to have an expert help with that part of the process, which is why there is no Stokely disc that isn't phenomenal. And by the way, you guys know this about me. I will not ever lie to you and say, oh, I'm never going to say every disc is great for every single shot. Like literally, I made a video like 3 days ago with the Lark. I talked about how good the Lark was, how it flew so straight at low arm speeds, right? In that same video, I said, look, if you're throwing this disc into a headwind, don't. If you throw the Lark into a headwind, you're going to lose control of this disc. It ain't going to fly well. And by doing that, I lost sales to some players because I said what it's not good at. So I'm honest with you guys. There is not a single Stokely disc made and Ching disc that isn't in my bag and awesome. But that costs money. We had to have an expert design good discs. So very long answer to the question, which was, how did I design the Robin? The answer is I didn't. But an expert at making a driver that flies like perfectly straight made it for us. If you guys like this content, if this is fun, if you're having a great day, if my tutorial videos are helping you play better, Stokely discs. You go to StokelyDiscs.com, buy these discs, and then well, first off, you're going to play better because they're great. Second thing is you can get on the team that's taking on the juggernauts in the industry. All of my friends who run these major manufacturing companies who I love to death, but I'm trying to compete with them. Right, just like in disc golf, I go out, I try to compete with Gannon. Like right now, it's kind of tough. Gannon's pretty good. Doesn't mean I'm not going to try to compete with them. So, anyways, if you want to get on the team that's trying to take on the big guys making good discs, go to StokelyDiscs.com. And then by the way, once you see how good they are, make a video and tag me and be like, holy crap, that Robin's like, it's as good as you said. And then make a video and tag me and tell your friends. Okay, is the Toro an approach disc or an overstable mid-range? I don't know the answer to that. I'm not as familiar with the other companies. I'll tell you this though, approach and mid-range, like it's kind of a subjective term, right? So like a mid-range disc and an approach disc generally approach discs are just a little bit slower, so they're more of an approach disc, but I can't tell you what the Toro is. And I know a lot of the discs, but I just can't keep up with all of them. All right, here's the question that I'm gonna answer this because I said ask any question, so I'm gonna answer it. He says, some of us have been around long enough to remember the rumor that you were in porn. So were you in porn? All right. Yeah, that was okay. When my daughter was born in 2000, I took 13 years off. I disappeared from the sport because I wanted to be home to raise my kid. And at the time, there wasn't a lot of money in disc golf, but that wasn't the main thing. I was having the time of my life playing disc golf for a living. But I wasn't going to be on the road not seeing my kid. So I made the decision that my kid was more important, family first, right? And I didn't even the internet wasn't such a big thing, but I didn't really say goodbye to anybody. I didn't make an announcement. I just stopped. I took all my discs, got rid of them, and just said I'm done. 13 years, basically. And of course, all sorts of rumors came out of what I was doing for a living at that time. And I had heard, because I still had friends who played, and our friends told me about that rumor. So the first part is, I'll tell you, the answer is no. Right? I'm flattered that you would think so, but the answer is no. I was not starring in those movies. But I told my friends, I said, don't tell anybody what I'm doing. This is funny to me. I don't care. There's this really funny rumor out there. Okay, I think it's great. All right, so Um, what I was doing was I created from scratch what became the second most visited sexual health and education website in the world. Um, it wasn't an adult site, but it covered adult topics because it was an educational website, and it caught on. And there was a time when it was getting like, I forget, 750,000 unique visitors every month at a time when people are still using dial-up internet, right? So it's mostly US. It was pretty damn huge. And I ended up selling it for a ton of money. I actually did really well when I sold this business for a while. So yeah, I was that's probably where the rumor started. Someone heard that I was doing that, and that's what it was. So sorry, it's not exciting, less exciting, but um why is grass green? That's the question. Why is grass green? I think it absorbs certain wavelengths of light.
Because the color receptors in your eyes interpret the wavelength of light.
He didn't ask you.
The green is different to women than it is to men too.
He didn't ask you. Did the question say, Adriana, why is grass green?
So you can find your disc easier.
So you can find your disc easier.
Unless you buy green discs, which Stokely just doesn't.
No, so green has to do, I know it has to do with photosynthesis. I know that on other planets, that things are going to be, because of the different wavelengths of light, because of everything's going to be purple. I don't know exactly how that works, but apparently that's a thing. So I dropped out of school in the 9th grade to play, but I will tell you this, that yeah, it has to do with reflecting certain wavelengths of light. You have 3 different receptors in your eyes. They will interpret those wavelengths, and they put together a picture that's sent to your brain, and your brain creates an image of what it thinks green is. The interesting philosophical question is, what I see as green, do you see the same thing when you see green? And the answer is, there's no way of ever knowing if your green looks like my green. All we know is that this thing that reflects that certain wavelength of light, we interpret it as matching the other thing that reflects those wavelengths of light. But what we actually see is unknown. It's kind of fun.
And what we actually know about the brain is so very little. And like, even when you try to remember what green it was, you can see a green in your head that might not be what you were actually remembering, but I can't see one at all because I don't have that thing in my brain
Yeah, right?
that makes pictures.
Yeah. That's fun, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so it just has to do with how she was just saying about how like little we know about the brain and how everybody's brains are different. And there's a lot of stuff you can find online about it. It's actually really, really fun. And also, our brains lie to us. How about that? Our eyes and our brains lie to us all the time too. Like the fact that we trust our brains. Here, I got one for you. This is completely unrelated, but someone did this incredibly fun experiment, testing human memory. Okay, they wanted to see how good is human memory actually. And what they were cited was, forget it if I get the details a little bit hazy, you'll get the point of this. But they said, how good is our memory? And so they said, they looked at something which was, what, I'm dating myself. When I was younger, everybody says, "Oh, I remember exactly where I was when JFK was shot, and I remember exactly where I was when man landed on the moon." Right? And like, so like we had these big memories, like these real big events in our lives that we remember like it was yesterday, right? That's so they said, well, let's see how good our memory is. So they gathered, I forget, a few hundred people, and they said, hey, you guys are on standby for the next major event that's going to happen. And when that happens, you're going to be part of an experiment. Well, the event was 9/11, and they contacted, I think it was like a couple hundred people, but they contacted them like that evening. And they said, tell me about your day. And they asked a bunch of questions, and people would give detailed explanation where they were when they first heard, where they were when the second tower went down. And people would tell the stories like, I showed up at work and everybody was gathered on the TV. And I remember that my manager was crying, but that's like, these are these very vivid memories. And it's assumed that probably in most cases, when you ask that evening, that's a probably pretty accurate memory. At least that's kind of the baseline. You have to start somewhere. And then they contacted the people a week later and asked them about 9/11. Then they contacted them a month later, and a year later, 5 years later, and then 10 years later. And every single time they asked them, tell me what happened on 9/11. Tell me about your day. And the further away you got from the event, the less accurate the remembering was of the event, to a point where there are people that would literally say, no, I was sitting at my kitchen table and I was watching it on the TV. But the day of the event, they said that they heard about it at work when they first heard about it, right? Like that's how far people's memories had gotten from the actual event. And it turns out that after 5 or 10 years, everybody's memory was off. Just like almost nobody had the details right 10 years later, even though everybody says, I can remember that day like it was yesterday. Now, here's the interesting thing. One of the questions they also asked people, which was, how confident are you in your answers? And people's confidence the day it happened was really high. I'm very confident that this is what happened that day. And over time, they understandably, their confidence went down, how well they're remembering their events, until a point when their confidence started going up. And after 10 years, people were as confident in what they remembered as they were the day it happened, even though the further away they got, the further their actual memory was from being accurate. So the longer it was, what it says is that number one is our brain doesn't remember things well, and it fills in the gap and paints pictures of things that didn't actually happen the way we remember them happening. But we then remember our memories, not the event. We remember the memories that our brain created, and those can become so imprinted that we don't forget the memories, and then we trust in those memories, even though they're not accurate. I don't know why I went to that story, but I think it's kind of fun. So anyways, that's just our brains suck. They're not as good as we think. Are you planning on doing a clinic in 2026? Of course I am. This is what I do. I teach disc golf. This is my love. This is my passion. I make great discs, which you can go to StokeleyDisc.com. And if you like my tutorial videos and they're helping you play better at disc golf, the way you can thank me is go to StokeleyDisc.com, order some discs, throw them. You're going to love them. And I'll keep making tutorial content, helping you guys play better. But yeah, I'm doing a tour in 2026. I saw you did one at one of my favorite courses in 2024, Richmond, Houston, but that was before I know who you were. And back when I was starting to get hooked. From a late 40s casual and frequent player and fan. Thank you, Kevin. Yes, I'm absolutely, for sure, 100% doing clinics. I will never stop teaching disc golf. I get so much reward, like it's so rewarding to me to help people play disc golf better. You guys want to hear me go deep for like a half a second? I'm going to say something totally deep. I think teaching disc golf is actually extremely important, which probably sounds stupid, but I'm gonna defend this idea. So everyone knows the game of golf, whether it's disc golf or golf, is fun, right? We all know it's fun. Okay, no, it's not. Okay, the game of golf isn't fun. The game of golf can be fun. But for most players, when you're not playing well, or when you're struggling, or when you're getting injured, golf ain't fun. Golf sucks, right? Now, I know it's always fun to be with your friends, and a bad day of disc golf is better than a good day at work. I know all the memes, and there's some merit to this. I'm not dismissing that. But at the end of the day, golf is less fun when you're struggling than when it's fun. And in fact, the less fun you have, the less likely you are to keep playing. The more you get injured, the less likely you are to keep playing. So when I teach disc golf, to me, I feel like I am helping people do something that gives them joy in their life, or it increases the joy in their life for a much longer period of time, maybe for the rest of their lives. And I think that's a big deal. To me, what could be more rewarding than giving things to people that make them happy for the rest of their life? Everybody that follows my teaching that doesn't get injured because they're throwing correctly, they don't even know that they might not be playing disc golf the rest of their life had they gotten injured. Well, there's no way to quantify or prove this, but I know that a lot of people out there are playing today that wouldn't be playing because they watched my videos and learned how to throw correctly. So I will never stop teaching disc golf because this is something that gives me a lot of value. I struggle with the release of the disc when putting. Is half push and half spin and all inconsistent? I'd love a video that talks about the release mechanics from the fingers and the pressure. Adam, I will make a video about that. I'll put that on my list. Peter says, struggling with brace timing. Any short to go-to fix to solve this problem? Fan from Norway in his 50s. Brace timing. I'm going to give you one thing and one thing only, which is you plant your foot before you begin pulling the disc. When it comes to timing, that trumps everything. Now, that does not mean that when your foot transfers to its heel, when your heel rotates, when the hips engage, how much the hips move, when the shoulders turn, when the elbow bends, when the head blah 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 blah. Blah. I'm not saying all that isn't important. Okay, what I'm telling you is there's a difference between all the mechanical things that happen on the throw and what you actually do to make those things happen. If when you throw, you are trying to intentionally coordinate your foot placement with your foot rotation, with your weight transfer, with your hip engagement, with your shoulder rotation, with your elbow bending. If you are trying to intentionally coordinate those things together, you're dead in the water. Nobody in the world can coordinate 7 different things in 0.2 of a second that happen in hundreds of seconds. Like, that's not even possible. Okay, I'm telling you, you don't have to do this. All of those things I mentioned are important. Do not post to Reddit that I'm not saying hips aren't important and that weight transfer is not important. I'm not saying any of that stuff. What I'm saying is that if you're focusing on doing those things, you are focusing on the wrong thing. You're not going to get the results you want. If instead you plant your foot before you pull the disc and just trust everything else to happen, all the rest of these things that are so important will all happen correctly as they need to if you plant before you pull the disc and allow it to just happen. Okay? If you were, let's say, for example, you had something that was stuck in a wall, screwed into a wall, you're rebuilding your basement, so you're just trying to rip something out of the wall, but you got to grab it and just yank it out of the wall, but it's stuck in there really good. All right. Well, you could yank it out of the wall, right? If you reach back and yank it out of the wall, you're going to, let's say you have enough force where you're strong enough for when you pull it, it comes free of the wall. Okay, you successfully did that. At no point when you were doing that did you think about transferring your weight to your foot, rotating your hips, turning your shoulder. You didn't think about any of those things. But I can tell you, if you had done any of those things wrong and incorrectly, that thing you were trying to rip out of the wall doesn't rip out because your body's not moving at its most efficient when you do that. Right? I hope that makes sense. And by the way, I can prove this. Go ahead and try to even just start a lawnmower and think about transferring your weight and rotating your hips as you start that lawnmower. And it's going to be like, you won't even be strong enough to pull the cord. You know, when you're strong enough to pull the cord, it's when you actually just reach down and pull and allow these things to happen automatically. Your body will automatically default in some cases to the most efficient, strongest setting. So plant your foot before you pull the disc, allow everything else to happen, and then don't post to Reddit that I said that hips and transferring weight and all that bracing's not important. I ain't saying any of that. That would be crazy. What I'm saying is that all those important things will all happen correctly if you plant before you pull the disc, but you have to plant first. Alan says you better be ready to call my throw and celebrate with me. Andrew says, what do you prefer, go throw versus Joe Mez coverage at events? What do you want more of in the way of events like ball golf coverage, lead card, disc golf? Did you start filming for the doco you were talking about last year? I like more. That's it. More content, the better. The more people out making content, you get to choose the person, the content that you want to watch. Like, who do you connect with? Who do you find entertaining? Who do you find funny? Who do you find educational? The more you have to choose from, the better. So which one do I like more? That's like saying which barbecue do I like more? I might like Kansas City, but that doesn't mean that Memphis or Carolina barbecue ain't better for you. So I love it all. The more, the better. Do a chicken wing. I can't do the chicken wing, but I'll show you this. I'm going to grab the Oh, no, I'm going to grab the Dallas Garber Wren. Put your hand on top of the disc. Put your thumb underneath. Turn it upside down with the thumb underneath the disc. Put the disc over your forearm and then flick it like this. It's actually, the actual name of that throw is an overhand wrist flick. Chicken wings, the slang term for it. John says, my wife is Korean. I was there last year and played 2 courses, one in Daegu and one in Gyeongju. Yeonju. Both great courses. My question is, have you played Yanggu Art Valley in Korea? I was invited to play there. What do you think? So yes, I have played Art Valley in Korea. That sounds so pretentious, right? Sure, I've played that course in Korea. But yeah, I went out there and got to meet Mr. Yoon, Chairman Yoon, the CEO of Crown Confectionaries. It's the company, his company that is a major snack company. It's like Nestle in Korea. And he loves disc golf, and he's building the courses in Art Valley that are absolutely beautiful. I feel like, in my opinion, that course I played at Art Valley was, as far as just courses go, was the best course I've ever played in Asia. So, do I think you should go play it? Yes, I do. It's fantastic. Where do you see age protected divisions in 10 to 15 years? At the touring level and at the local level? Same thing. This is Dan. What's up, Dan? No, I think that they're always going to be a great thing, and the age protected divisions are great because everybody gets to play with the people their own age and or their own skill level, and that's fantastic. I think at the fun and competitive level, I hope they're around forever. At a national touring level, I just don't know. It's a free market. Like, the free market's going to vote. If someone goes out and covers a age protected division tournament and a bunch of people watch it, then they'll make more. But if they run an age protected tournament and it gets 4% of the viewers of the Pro Tour, then the market votes. So the market's going to have to vote on this one. And unfortunately, in sports, the market in most cases votes for the elite of the elite. That's just the free market, and I'm a big fan of that. So I love age protected. I mean, come on, I am age protected. These are my people. But it's also sports, and in sports, I think most people want to see the elite of the elite in most cases. Please come to the Baltimore area, Beth says. Please come to the Baltimore area. I need a lot of help. I might not be able to afford your coaching, though. So yes, you can afford my coaching. Number one, all the stuff I do on YouTube and all the stuff I do on social media is free, but I also teach a wide variety of classes on purpose. I will do big group clinics where it's unlimited amount of people come out. I charge like $25 for those. My fairway field trips, I'm charging $49, but you get a disc, you get a clinic, 90-minute clinic, and then you get one-on-one coaching time. I do my full day seminars, which I charge $400 a person, but I cap at 5 people for a full day. But I purposely don't just do, like, I make more money doing my full day seminars than anything. Like, if I was just trying to make money, if it was just purely business to me, I would do my full day seminars. I would work fewer days and make more money. But then I wouldn't be reaching all the people. So I try to do is I purposely run a wide variety of events because I want to make sure everybody can make it. And so when I come to the Baltimore area, which I will this year, there will be something. I will be doing something out there that'll be affordable for everybody. Mark said, I got to say, you are the epitome of cool. Disc Golf is proud that you are here. Mark Chandler, that was not a question. In fact, I shouldn't have even read it out loud. The only reason I did is because you said I was the epitome of cool. And I would like to get that on a tattoo. Luke Hammer says, there have been rumors that you and Climo having a bit of a rivalry that included some calling the violations and giving strokes. Interested into what I have to say about this. So I'll address this in a couple phases. First off, were Ken and I rivals in disc golf? I've always shied away from saying yes because Ken didn't have any rivals in disc golf. Like, he dominated, so like to say that I was a rival of his, I don't think would be I don't think that would be fair to how good Ken was, to be totally honest. And I hate saying the words out loud, but like he was Ken Climo. He won just about everything he played. Personally with Ken, like we're different people. We're absolutely different personalities and different people. I will tell you this. I've been very, very happy over the last several years, especially. Like I'm watching videos and comments from people. Ken's out there he's being a fantastic ambassador for disc golf. People who are interacting with him at events are having great experiences, and I think it's great. So I'm happy for Ken. I'm happy for the success he's having, and yeah, I'm sorry. I wish it'd be more fun if I could stir the pot, but I love what Ken's doing. I heard the Climo discs. I have not thrown them, but I've heard they're very good. If he's involved, of course they are. So I'm very happy for Ken. I'm very proud of the ambassador he's becoming in our sport. So just because we're different types of people doesn't mean I don't respect what the man has done. How did I purchase? Oh, this is a good one, Matt. I'm going to give a disc golf history lesson here. You guys are going to think this is fun, I hope. How did you purchase discs when you started? Andy, do you have to buy a new disc every week or month? There wasn't premium plastic. They must have worn out fast. Oh my gosh. No, it's not that there wasn't premium plastic. So the way you purchased discs back then, so first off, you could not. So when there were no beveled edge discs, that was 1983 that those came out. I first played in 76, but I started playing every day in 80 or 81. So played for several years without beveled edge discs. You bought Frisbees that Whammo put additives in. Initially, it was glow additives to make them heavier. That was the Night Flyers, which became Midnight Flyers. But all these were like the 119 you bought at the grocery store became the 40 mold, or it was always the 40 mold. The 50 mold became, or the 100 mold was the 100 mold. I think was the 141. But so these were the same Frisbees you bought in stores, and they were just heavier. One of the things about these Frisbees was that they were very fragile and that they broke easily. Like you threw your disc into a tree, you walked up the fairway going, please don't be broken, please don't be broken. And when you got it there, there'd be a big old crack in it. God. Now, discs back then cost about $7, right? Well, we'll call it, what's that, $15 by today's money, which isn't a lot of money, except the culture of the sport back then was that there wasn't a lot of people with a lot of money back in the sport back in those days. And breaking a disc was tragic because most of us couldn't just go, well, I was a kid, but even the adults, I think most people that played couldn't just go out and buy 5 new Frisbees. Like that's just not the culture of who played back then. So yeah, they wore out quickly, but they also broke. Now, you did not buy these discs in stores. Okay, where you bought your discs was every course had a player that would not sort of, let me rephrase that, every course, what am I saying? Occasionally there would be a course which would have a player who would buy 50 or 100 discs at a time from Whammo, and they would show up and they would open the trunk of their car and they would have the latest and greatest in disc golf technology, which was just a bunch of Whammo Frisbees with golf weights. And then eventually in like 1983, well, Discraft was around before then, making very good discs. And then in 1983, the beveled edge discs came out, and then Discraft, Innova, and also Lightning were making discs. And then a company called Destiny Discs was also making golf discs. But if you were selling discs, you would buy 100 discs and you'd show up in the trunk of your car. And if you lived at a course where nobody sold discs, you had to drive to a course where somebody was selling discs, and you hoped that person showed up that day. And if they didn't show up, you didn't get your discs. And when they did show up, you got to choose from what was available, which could be like 50 discs. Can you give me the plug? I got to plug my phone in, please. It's going to die in like 4 seconds. So 4 seconds. Yeah, you got 3, 2. So anyways, hold on, you guys. So it's about to die. I'm going to plug in real quick. So yeah, but you weren't buying discs at stores. It wasn't until a few years later that occasionally discs would show up in a store. But thank you very much. Now, when you bought them in stores, they would have a very small selection. There were two online catalogs, Discovering the World and The Right Life. Actually had catalogs, and there was places like Disc Golf World, Rick Rothstein's company. He did some mail order, but yeah, it was very limited back then. So, and then yes, discs were out. Yes, you probably needed to buy a new disc every round with these early discs, but no one had the money to back then. Mike Moore says, "Do I like rocks?" He's talking about the end of a rock. What's your favorite rock? The answer is, yeah, rocks were the gold standard. They're still the gold standard for approach disc. Like the rock was like every category of disc. I kind of think has a disc that was the gold standard for it. That all discs are kind of like kind of copies of. They're not copies, but you know. But the first putter was the Innova Aviar. The first good mid range was the Rock. The first good overstable disc was the first really good one. I think was the Viper, although the Excellent came out not long after from Discraft. I think the first good understable driver was the XL, and then Innova followed that up with the Valkyrie. So, and you know, nowadays everybody makes good discs, but I always think that there's a disc that in my mind was the first one to be that thing, the first non-beveled, really good non-beveled disc to come out, which took like 40 years, but I think it was the Berg. The first high-speed driver, and it was like that's the Destroyer. So, yeah, of course I love the rocks. Rocks were great. Roscoe says, "What form do you usually use for throwing backhand or forehand? What putting stance and release do you prefer?" So putting form, I can't really demonstrate on this, but the putting form, I mean, the driving form, I guess you could probably pull up any videos of me throwing. That's basically my form. It hasn't changed a lot over the years because your form, to a large extent, is kind of based on your body. You're not going to have identical putting form. You're not going to have an identical throwing form because all of our bodies move differently. Like it's kind of like in ball golf, where they talk about all the different players have slightly different swings. Well, it's not because some golfer says, "Oh, I want to move my club 3 degrees off this plane. That's a better." No, it's because that's the way their shoulder socket lines up. When they pull the club back in a smooth, efficient manner, because all of us have different shoulder sockets, the club's going to wind up slightly different. It's the same reason professional baseball pitchers don't all throw from an identical arm slot. Like if everybody had an identical body, there would be an optimal arm slot for pitching that every single pitcher would throw from, because everybody that didn't throw in that arm slot would be at a competitive disadvantage because they weren't throwing efficiently. But there's not an identical arm slot because everybody's body's different. That doesn't mean you get to throw any way you want to. Okay, the laws of physics trump everything. So there are certain rules to throwing. You're going to plant before you throw. You don't serve the pizza, throw with your palm up. Like there are absolute rules based on physics. But after you follow the rules of physics, which trump everything, there's a lot of variance within forms that are individual to how your body moves. The biggest challenge is, first off, knowing the difference between what rules you must follow and where the flexibility lies. And that's my teaching. My teaching method is all about, these are rules, these are written in stone, everybody must do these. But this thing over here is individual. That must be how your body moves. And those are not going to be the same thing. So rules are rules. The individual parts must be individual. So yeah, so then how, like my form and stance, you know, and by the way, as far as putting stance, I have a kind of a basic spush putt, kind of a traditional stance with a spush putt, you know, front foot turned about 45 degrees to the left, making sure my right shoulder is out in front because this is the hinge of the throwing arm, but I'm using a push putt motion down and up with a little bit of pop with the elbow. All right, we got just a couple more questions, you guys. I haven't talked about the owl yet. look, I'm trying to grow my company. Okay, don't click away when I start talking about discs, please. I need you guys. I don't need you to throw my discs. I'm not going to go, please throw my frisbees. What I'm saying is, please try my discs. Like, they are so good. They're as good as all the big major manufacturers out there. I got nothing against anyone that says, you know what, I just prefer going with the big guys. I just like to go with the major companies, which is fine. Like, this is the reality. You have Applebee's, who makes great food at reasonable prices, and right next door you have the mom and pop restaurant, right? That's the small company that's trying to compete. You will always have more people in Applebee's than the mom and pop's restaurant. That's just, I don't know if it's marketing, if it's just tribalism, or I don't know the reasons for it, but we know this is true, right? Applebee's is going to do better than mom and pop's restaurant. But it doesn't mean the mom and pop's restaurant isn't making good food at competitive prices. It's just a matter of like, which company do you want to support? Most people would rather give their money to a giant corporation than the mom and pop restaurant. Like, no one wants to admit that, but go look at the parking lot. It's a free market. We vote with our wallets. So in disc golf, most people want to give their money to the big companies. It's a free market. The market's voted, but it's not all of you. So for those of you who want to get on board with a smaller company who's making discs every bit as good as the big companies, you want to be part of this vision I have for trying to make the sport, the things I'm trying to do to make the sport better with my teaching and, all the education, and throw Stokely discs, give them a try. Go to StokelyDisc.com. If you want an overstable approach disc, the Owl is like, it's phenomenal. Like, everyone knows the Zone is awesome, right? I'm not knocking the Zone, but it's a little bit more overstable than a Zone, but it's not as radically overstable as the Zone OS. It kind of fills the gap between the Zone and the Zone OS. It also does not give two craps if you have a headwind. Throw this disc into a 20-mile-an-hour headwind, it's going to hold its line. So the Owl is phenomenal. It's very overstable. This is not an all-purpose disc. If you're only buying one approach disc, the Owl's not your disc. It is for a specific type of shot, but it is fantastic. By the way, it's also a narrow rim, which most players, or sorry, it's not very deep, which most players also find is easier to throw sidearm. Just the mechanics of throwing the sidearm, the deeper the rim, typically it comes off the hand with more wobble for most players. So the Owl kind of takes care of that. All right. Oops, wait a second. Oh, wait a second. I just saw a question. Did I miss this? I think I missed a question. Interesting. No, a bunch of questions disappeared. Wait a second. Someone asked about my previous disc line. Oh, yeah. So I didn't mean to skip it. Is my former disc line of discs acceptable discussion? Every discussion is a fair discussion. So and I really wish I hadn't done this. This is just hindsight. I'd been gone for the sport for 13 years, and from 2000 to 2014. And when I came back, I thought, I want to release a line of discs. And and I'm trying to, by the way, I'm coming back from a really kind of bad period of my life. And I'm like, I really want to get out there and try to make a living at disc golf. And at the time, all the questions of like legalizing pot in Colorado were kind of a thing, and all these businesses were opening up. And I said, wow, what if I made a line of discs named after different strains of pot, right? That was totally not a weird thing in 2000. I had not realized how much the sport had changed in 13 years. That's just a fact. I was a bit ignorant of my market, of my audience. And this is the actually funny aside. I'm not a pot smoker. Okay, what I am is I'm not political at all, but if you put me in a camp, I'm very libertarian. Your body, whatever you want to put it in is up to you. Government, stay out of my home. Like, get rid of the black market, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of reasons why I'm a supporter of the industry, even though I'm like, I don't smoke pot. I'm sorry, not to let anybody down, but I'm not a pot smoker. But I support that industry. I think anyways. I didn't realize the sport had changed and that the sport had moved away from that image enough where it turned out it was just a bad idea. So I very quickly shut it down and was like, all right, my bad. That was my mistake. But I won't retract what I believed or what I believe in the world. I just don't think it was a good idea for our sport. So it was a mistake, but that's okay. I'll make more mistakes. I'm only 56 years old. I have plenty of mistakes coming that I'm still going to make in my life. There we go. All right, got just a couple more questions, you guys. Oh, good. So this is on my longest drive page. I don't know if you guys know this, but I have an entire page that is dedicated specifically to non-disc golf stuff. I get to be a little bit less politically correct.
Lifestyle.
It's about lifestyle. It's about being happy. It's about being funny and traveling and more philosophical. Still not political because I hate politics, but it's more just non-disc golf stuff. It's a lot of fun, and we talk about things that I really don't want to necessarily connect to. Like it's not part of my disc golf world, but it's called Stokely's Longest Drive. We have a lot of fun there, and we got about 5,000 people follow, so it's actually got a pretty good following. All right, questions. Do I play any instruments? Is there a band or song that puts you in the right frame of mind before a round? If you could play a round with 4 non-disc golfers, who would you choose and why? Okay, now I just a bunch of questions. So no, I don't play any instruments. I'm not mechanically inclined. I figured this out though about me. I figured out that I've always kind of thought that I'm probably on the spectrum somewhere, just because I just feel like I'm a little bit, not on purpose, but I view the world a little differently, and I've been told I'm a little bit quirky in how I live. I don't know. I've been told by people, so I'm not gonna I'm not gonna question them. But I also found out that I have a form of dyslexia. I always thought dyslexia simply meant the letters on the words were reversed, right? But another thing with dyslexia is it's a difficulty in operating 2 hands at the same time, which I've never really thought of or noticed. I'm very coordinated. I'm good at sports, and but I realized this when I was trying to be. I wanted to be in a punk rock band so bad when I was younger, and I was trying to learn how to play guitar, and like I got to where I could play like some basic, like I could play like some Nirvana songs. Man, it's pretty easy. But the amount of time I'd put in relative to how crappy I was at it made no sense. Like I'm not tone deaf. I'm not musical, and I couldn't. Like I've never been able to play with the amount of effort I put into it. I sucked, and I found out that one of the characteristics of or can be of dyslexia is both hands operating at the same time. So the idea of using 2 hands at once was actually something my brain just wouldn't let me do. So that's my musical background. If I could play around with 4 non-living disc golfers, who would you choose and why? God, that's just like I don't even know where to start on that one. Um, I would like to play with Charles Darwin. Before and then we'll play with Jesus too. I'd like to see if those two argue. Um, but I'd like to pick both their brains. How about that? How about oh God, how about Dave Brocky from Guar? And I get 4 right. Oh, how about Babe Ruth? He could bring the booze and the ladies. Although I don't drink booze. But anyways, there we go. I think it'll be a hell of a party. Babe Ruth, Charles Darwin, Jesus, and Dave Brocky. Yeah, that sounds like a good foursome. Well, it would be a fivesome if I was playing. What was my childhood nickname? Oh, that's a really good question. So everybody's always called me Stoke or by my last name. I've been called Stokely way more than me called Scott. But I did have one horrible nickname in high school, and I'll tell you about it. So my last name is Stokely. And well, there was a song that came out. It wasn't high school. It was the 8th grade that ruined my entire year. You know that song the song that stroke me Stokely, right? Stroke me Stokely. At least that's what everybody in the 8th grade thought the words were to the song. So for like an entire year, I would like walk into like a classroom. Like, I don't know if you guys remember how like insecure and how much self-esteem issues most of us have when we're like 13 years old. But when you're 13 years old and all the boys are yelling "stroke me Stokely" and all the girls are laughing, it kind of makes you hate school and want to play frisbee all day. So I would say for 1 year I was called "stroke me Stokely." Um,
You just had an entrance song.
yeah, yeah. Now, I would like to point out, as an adult, I'm fine with you calling me "stroke me Stokely," but in this case, I've earned it. Let's see. What specific exercises and stretches help shoulders? I started throwing 22 years ago, almost exclusively sidearm, then quit for 5 years when I had kids. Got back into sport. I can only throw sidearm 100 feet without an audible click and pain in my shoulder and elbow, but I can backhand 4 rounds in a day with no issues. Jeff, there's a 90% chance I'm about to tell you exactly what the problem is. Oh my God, you're 90% chance I will solve what's causing that problem. So there are two different backswings. Let me explain. There's two different backswings. There's the backswing that goes up over the top like this. I call that the windmill. And there's the pendulum, which is the disc swings down. On the pendulum, the shoulder is the only hinge, right? Now, this is super important. On the pendulum, the top of the disc starts facing away from you. The disc swings down like a pendulum. On the windmill, top of the disc is facing towards you and it rotates around, not so much your shoulder, but around your elbow. Okay? Both of those backswings are valid. And the reason they're both valid is they appear to put your arm in the same position, right? They go back and your body and your arm and the disc are in the same place. But here's the thing. Because your shoulder rotated into position two different directions, for most players, something inside here is not the same, even though it appears on the outside that your arm's in the same position. Basically, when your shoulder goes one way or the other direction to get into position, something rolls over or rolls under. It's not the same. And when you do the wrong backswing and you throw, it's going to hurt. Or at the very least, you're going to lose power, you're going to lose spin, your disc is going to wobble more. It just doesn't work as well. And when you do the other backswing, it works better. I'm telling you, this is something, I mean, it's anecdotal, but it's thousands of players later anecdotal. Try both backswings. There is an 85% chance that when you switch your backswing and you throw, you're going to go, oh my God, it literally just doesn't hurt now. Now, the weird thing is that we're not all the same. It's not that one backswing puts our shoulder in the wrong position and the other backswing puts it in the correct position. The fact is that about 75 to 80% of players should do the pendulum and only about 20% of players should do the windmill, but it's not everybody. And the reason why is just because we're all built a little differently. Our shoulder sockets aren't identical. Like, we're just not the same. There is a video. All you got to do is look for Scott Stokely's sidearm backswing video on YouTube. If you watch that video, I will explain the differences. And again, there's about an 85% chance that this is going to make your shoulder pain go away on the very first throw. And you're going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe it was that easy. Now, that's not a promise. There is a chance that you have an injury or past issues or some reason your shoulder, it's just limits your ability to throw sidearm. But there's a 5 out of 6 chance that just changing your backswing will fix it. Go watch that video. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say it like to everybody. If you watch these videos and all of a sudden it doesn't hurt anymore and you're throwing farther, the best way to thank me, go to StokelyDisc.com. Check out the Robin here. Check out the Peregrine, the overstable driver. It's such a great sidearm disc because it will hold its angle no matter what you do. But if my tutorials are helping you, the best way you can thank me is just go to Stokely Discs and give my discs a try. I ain't telling you to bag a disc if you don't like it. What I'm saying is you're going to like them because these are great discs. And then, of course, post to social media how good they are and tell all your friends that, oh my God, these discs are great. So, yeah. So, Jeff, if I save your shoulder and you can throw sidearm again, and now you can throw sidearm for the next 30 years, you can buy a couple discs. That's the least you can do. I don't care. I'm kidding. I don't charge for anything I do. I always make it optional. But yeah, I think this is going to make the biggest difference for you. All right. And then my last, let's see. Joseph says, what's the square root of pi? Let's see. Well, if you have a pi, pi's are usually round, not square. So the square root of a pi, if you plant a pi in the ground, it grows roots.
Root barb?
No, that's rhubarb pie. Yeah, I don't know. I would say the square root of pi is a pi symbol with the square root symbol around it. And that's the actual answer. Okay. Dustin says, when will you make it to Central Florida? I will be in Central Florida this year. I think, I could be wrong. I think I'm going to try to hit some events right after the Supreme flight. Because I'm going to be filming Dallas Gardner's first.
Gardner.
What did I say?
Gardner.
Did I say Gardner?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Dallas. Well, his friends call him Gardner, but his name's Dallas Garber. Did I dodge that one? Not really. Okay. Dallas Garber. He is first year on tour, and I'm going to be filming, not necessarily filming his whole round, but I'm going to be telling the story. Last question. And then I'm going to give you guys one more thing before I go. Austin says, I got serious about disc golf when I was 18. I'm now 29. I was planning on playing college baseball, and through some family struggles, I decided to still go to college, but try to focus on reality golf. Got the girlfriend and her dad involved. Now owns a disc golf shop in Portland, Ohio. Years, got up to 950 rating, but now playing done due to work. How would you recommend finding fun in the sport? Personality wise, I'm super competitive. Like that with disc golf, and I can't find it. Schedule being the number one issue. Let me explain. So, first off, when it comes to disc golf and anything in life, that's what that gives you joy. But there's no rule as to what that thing has to be. Like fun. Well, what does that mean? Like, well, what if fun for you is training? That might be fun for you. That's not fun just because you're not out there goofing off. Some people play for the exercise. Some people play to be out in nature. Some people play for the personal challenge play. So I don't think that's just. And I hate to give you a crappy answer, Austin. Able to do because of work, that's kind of enjoying the game. Like, I would say try to enjoy it for different reasons, but who's to say you're not going to? You said you like this point in your life with the idea of career changing, things changing later on. Maybe you find it's also possible that, yeah, you're not competitive. Like, look, I'm going to give you a perfect example for me, about me trying to do what gives me joy. I played before I went on the disc golf pro tour in 2022. I toured for a couple of years, playing age protected. Now I was over 50, so I could have played over 50 division, although I mostly played over 40. I still played a division above me. But in 2 years, touring around the country playing MP40 and MP50 tournaments, I won 70% of my tournaments that I played. And I was teaching and running classes and doing lessons. I wasn't even practicing. I was just showing up to courses playing. And I won 70% of the tournaments. And I enjoyed playing, but I didn't get anything out of it that motivated me. And the reason I know it didn't motivate me is that I had no interest in going to the gym. I had no interest in practicing putting, nothing. And so for me, like, what's fun? Well, what if I go back on the disc golf pro tour? And the minute I made the commitment to go on the tour, all of a sudden I'm in the gym, I'm practicing putting, even though I'm not winning tournaments. Like I had more fun competing against the best in the world. And then, hey, I finished 36th place and I shot 1030. That's pretty damn good for my age. But most people would not understand why that would be more fun than going out and winning tournaments. Like I'll give you one more example. The one year in Flagstaff Masters Worlds, I'm at an Elite Series Disc Golf Pro Tour event. Everybody's like, "Why are you at Masters Worlds right now?" And I'm like, I'm trying to explain the best I can to explain to them is that when I thought about going to Masters Worlds, my heart rate didn't increase. Like I didn't get excited. Like, oh, I can't wait. I want to go practice. Let me get out there early and train for the. I just didn't have this visceral emotional response to being there. It didn't move me. When I thought about playing the Elite Series Pro Tour event, I couldn't sleep at night. I would wake up early to go practice putting before eating breakfast, and I was out there because that's what got me excited. And at that tournament, I finished 20th at a Disc Golf Pro Tour Elite Series tournament at 53 years old. I finished in the top 20. And to me, just for me, I ain't speaking for anybody else, but emotionally, that moved me and meant so much more to me than anything that would have happened at Masters Worlds. I finished top 20 at an Elite Series Pro Tour event against the best in the world. I was beating world champions. So I can't go to compete because other people think that's why I should play the game. I got to go to the places where it moves me to play. And you got to find your own thing that moves you too. And if it turns out that you don't like playing without the competition, then maybe that just means that that's not your game today. And maybe you wind up like, you can't manufacture what you like. So I hope that's not a crappy answer. I don't want to make it sound like I'm being negative, but you sound like you were a very competitive athlete. And there are people out there that if you're not competing, it doesn't move you. And if it doesn't move you, it doesn't move you. That's just the way it is, you know? So I think you have to figure out what makes you happy and then stick to that. All right, guys. One final message then before I log off. I'm going to make one more pitch. And I can see how many people are in the room. So I'm going to make one more pitch about Stokely discs, and I'm going to look to see how many of you leave, and then I can tell if this is if I'm losing you with my pitch. So StokelyDisc.com. I have 7 original molds, and we bought Ching discs. I have 2 original Ching molds as well. So we have 9 models out and more coming soon. These are phenomenal golf discs. Are they better than the major manufacturer golf discs? Of course not. Are they worse than the major manufacturer golf discs? Absolutely not. Right? Everybody makes good discs. And these discs and this plastic, like the Robin and the Peregrine, this grippy Champion plastic on the Ching discs is this is the grippiest. God, you can't feel it, but this right here, as far as Champion, the kind of see-through plastic, this is the grippiest Champion plastic on the market. I'll put it up against anything as far as tackiness. Like, they're phenomenal discs. They're good as anything else out there. So the question for you guys is twofold. Like, do you want to support an up and coming company and who makes discs as good as the big guys and help me get on the help me get going? Well, we're already doing pretty good. I mean, people love the discs, but do you want to be part of this movement? Do we get behind the little guy trying to take on the big guys? I would absolutely love it if you got behind this, not because of charity or because you like me or anything like that, but because these discs are phenomenal. They fly good. You're going to play great with them. You play as good with these as anything else on the market. You get to vote with your wallet. Do you want to support the big guys, or do you want to support Applebee's, or do you want to support the mom and pop's restaurant next door who's trying to become the next Applebee's? I don't think I'm ever going to get that big. I'm not motivated enough to do what it takes to get that big. I just want to be successful and maybe retire like before I'm 80. But these discs are great, and I want y'all to be a part of this. If you're totally into Stokely discs, my Discord server, scottstokely.net/Discord. That's where we do all sorts of chatting off the air. I have a group where we talk about just like, we have like a men's group. We talk about just guy stuff that's not related to disc golf. We talk about special needs classes. We talk about recovery. We talk about golf discs and throwing better. But we do a lot of stuff with kind of like the inner circle of my disc golf crew, scottstokely.net/Discord. But I just encourage y'all, if you liked it, if you're entertained by the stuff that I do, and you think I'm making disc golf more fun for you, or if my tutorials or my teachings helped you play better or reduced injuries, the best way you can thank me is go to StokelyDiscs.com, get some Stokely discs, try them out. You're going to love them. And then once you throw them, would love it if you made some social media content telling everybody how good they are. Just be honest. I'm not telling you to say it because I'm asking you to. Just tell people what you think of them, because they're great. And then, of course, we'd love to have you on the crew. Love to have you as part of the flock, right? So thanks, you guys. I had a great time today, and I'll definitely do this again soon. And I hope it was fun for all of you. Thanks. Yeah, I clicked end stream, and I clicked end stream, but it's still, oh.